drawing certain body parts like hands, it's important to know that geometric shapes can help out in these situations. So most often beginners, especially ones who are trying to do manga style, they typically often learn to use a circle and then add in 4 knuckles, which is a bit of a problem because it means that they don't have a straight edge to run along by, and they can't check that all the knuckles that they've done are evenly placed. Using a square instead of a circle, we get a much better idea of it. So when we use a square, not only can we work out the spread of the knuckles between each other, we can also work out the proportions of the thumb as well. So here I'll just draw a square. Now an important thing to remember is if we're going to have the thumb on this side, then we need to add the wrist and leave a gap where the thumb is. So you can see I haven't drawn it like this. I've made the wrist go in further, and that's because in this box we have the joint that connects the thumb to the palm, and that joint is not connected to the wrist. It's a completely separate joint, and a lot of people don't realize they draw it as if those two joints are connected when in reality they aren't. So to map out the thumb, what I do is I find the halfway mark in this square, do a curve that connects there to there. Once I've done that, I add joint there, the second joint of the thumb, and I connect that, and then I give that a little bit of a curve. You shouldn't draw the thumb like this. Never do that. The thumb isn't a stump like that. It has sort of a curve that starts with a corner and then comes down. Why? Because this here is where your nail bed is, and your nails push down on the skin and stop it from getting that curve. If I was to darken this curve here and then put a nail on it, you could see how unrealistic that looks compared to this. So this is wrong, this is right. So you can see now I'm applying that principle there, and I'm curving off the shapes. Now the next part is obviously to do the knuckles. So I'm adding another joint here, that this little curve, not a stump, just a curve with a corner. Remember that, that's important. So I'm just going to draw the nail as well, both nails, so I can show you guys which direction I'm drawing the hand in. So then, as you would have guessed, we connect the geometric shapes with the outline, and so that's the pointy and the thumb. Now when we're doing a relaxed hand, which I'm drawing, we can just it depends. If this hand was resting on a table, the fingers would be spread out, but if it's like a normal relaxed hand, you can have certain situations where the fingers sort of touch each other. So if we want to do that, we don't have to do this whole process that we did with this finger again. All we have to do is remember where that joint is, and then just follow that line. And then smooth everything out. And then the last thing that we'll notice in a hand or in a backhand, I'll be doing more kinds of hands in the near future. If you guys want to know about them, just hit me up. There are the details like the knuckles, so the folds of the skin where the knuckles are. If someone's particularly skinny, you'll be able to see the gap in the wrist bone. Sorry, not the wrist bone, the bone that goes below the wrist. I can't remember what it's called. The knuckles kind of stem from these bones which lead up to the wrist joint, which is around here. The knuckle bones that you see will almost always, if they're showing, depending on how skinny the person is, they will point to that wrist joint. And because this hand is a bit skinnier, I'm going to make this arm a little bit skinnier as well. And of course, if the hand is fatter, you wouldn't normally see these joints because there'd be like a layer of fat above them. On the wrist as well, as I said, where that joint is. If someone had sausage hands, all you have to keep in mind is that You don't have to add those joint details. All you have to do is just draw the hand and the wrist and the fingers and just leave it as it is, because even if the hand isn't necessarily skinny, we could still use these same proportions, because the proportions of people's hands follow general rules, but they can change from person to person. So that's it. That's how we draw backhands, and in a future video I'll draw other types of hands as well.